Google SEO mistakes you're still making? Let's get to it. What's going on, everybody? So a while back, I applied to Google AdSense with my ESO website that currently makes money from selling digital products as well as affiliate marketing. It gets thousands of visitors a day, and it was rejected for nonsensical content. I was like, what? How is this possible? This website gets thousands of visitors a day. All the blog posts on it, it has over 100 blog posts. All the blog posts are like 2,000 words to 4,000 words, that kind of range. It's a really well-designed, well-developed site that I've been working on for almost 2 years now. And it's because basically of the first SEO mistake. So the first SEO mistake is Yoast SEO came out with a bug. Thanks, Yoast SEO, a few years ago. So Yoast SEO is my recommended SEO plugin that I recommend that you use for WordPress. But the bug specifically that they came out with, it was obviously not intentional, but basically it just changed a setting on the back end. And what the setting that they changed specifically basically created a sitemap for all your images, and then it made Google index your images as a page. And so then you ended up submitting hundreds, maybe some websites, thousands of images as a page, as a dedicated page on your site. And that's basically thin content, which could then in turn trigger a basically SEO penalty to your website. Now, for most people, they didn't experience any penalty because normally you're gonna have like 100, 200, 300, whatever, that kind of range of images. It's not good, obviously, to have all this thin content, but it's not going to penalize you until, it's not gonna trigger anything until you get, it appears to be like you get to like 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 images, etc. But it still not penalized my site. It didn't hurt the SEO rankings, thank God. But what ended up happening is like I couldn't join the AdSense program because of all these thin contents, which was basically just a bunch of images with their own URL on a page, just a picture and no content. And that's thin content. And then also on top of it is a sitemap. There's a sitemap that was submitting as well via Google Search Engine Console. I don't know. This was a big mistake by Yoast. They publicly apologized, but...
So to check this issue, it's very simple. Just go to your WordPress admin, go to Yoast, go to the media tab, and then make sure it says yes for redirect attachment URLs to the attachment itself. That way, basically images redirect to themselves. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a bunch of pages with just one image and a dedicated URL, and it's going to be a big mess. So just make sure this is yes. If it's no, then you're affected by the bug. So anyways, let's continue.
The next mistake is outdated content. And so what I literally mean is content that's just not being continually updated. And you have to just pay attention to your rankings. You have to pay attention to your pages that are ranking and make sure that the traffic hasn't decreased over time. You can check this in Google Search Engine Console to see how your page was basically performing in the past and compare it to now and see if things have decreased or increased or stayed the same. You want things to stay the same or increase. If they're decreasing, that means you want to jump into that page and take a look and see if it needs to be updated in any clear and specific way. Oftentimes this would be like for a page where you're talking about technology that rapidly changes, for example. Like if you have a page, for example, I don't know, like best laptops for blah blah blah. Well, laptops continually come up every 6 months. Like you can't just write a piece of content like that one time and then set it and forget it and just never and walk away for it forever. You kind of gotta go in and make sure you manage things as appropriate and make sure everything's up to date with tools and services, the correct way to do things. Like people here on YouTube oftentimes like love to create tutorials on specific things, but then those pieces of technology become outdated. For example, like Teachable is a great example. Like I'm going to be coming out with Teachable tutorials in a bit because all the Teachable tutorials on YouTube are just dated. They're just inaccurate, and they're not the way Teachable is now. And so with your website, you want to go into your content, just make sure everything's up to date. Make sure you don't have content that is untargeted. So what I mean by content that's untargeted is just when you're building a brand via a website and a YouTube channel, make sure to stay on brand. It's okay to veer away a little bit, but in general, you want to follow kind of like an 80-20 rule when it comes to publishing content. Basically, you want 80% of the time, you want to be going after keyword and phrases that people are actually looking for, that people want and need, questions, etc. Then 20% of the time, you can kind of wing it and talk about something that you want, create more personalized content that help readers connect with you a little bit, or videos that help people connect with you a little bit. But in general, you don't want to veer too far off what your website and YouTube channel is about, because Google basically takes your site as a holistic approach as a brand. Okay, they're not going to like your pages are important, obviously, okay? Like Google ranks pages, obviously, but they do take a look at your whole website and your whole brand. And the reason I say that is because like if they have an opportunity to rank a brand over a specific page, they will rank the brand. And so what I mean is like if you were able to find like a specific keyword phrase that that's not really being served well, if your website's about anything but you create a page on that, Google will more likely index that page. But then if there's a brand and they create a page on that, then they'll rank the brand, if that makes any sense. Thin content, make sure your website obviously doesn't have thin content. So this kind of plays into the first one with the Yoast SEO issue of indexing all your images and making them pages. Thanks. But like you want to make sure that in general you don't have thin content on your website. And generally most people who are experienced don't really have this issue. This thin content is more of an issue with people who are A, lazy, or B, new to creating websites and they just don't know how to create content. Basically, you don't want to like just create like little 200-word blog posts and expect it to rank. You really have to dive deep and create really good, thoughtful content that really serves the search intent. Because that's the name of the game, is search intent. So it's like, yeah, think about when you find a keyword phrase, what are people searching for? What do they really want? What is the person who's typing this in want? And so answer that. And so that also plays into a role of like kind of take a look at like what other websites are ranking for, like what you're competing against, see the kind of content that they've created, and how can your content be better and different to better serve the search intent than what is currently ranking, okay? Ads are okay, like if someone's on their desktop or even a tablet, like having like as you're scrolling through content, you see like an ad block, whatever, that's fine. But make sure the ads are presented in a nice way, particularly if people are on mobile. You don't want a bunch of things popping up on screen. You don't want like your social share buttons right at the bottom there, and then an ad on top of this, and then an ad at the top of here, and then then ads within the content. It gets really annoying and it impacts your user experience, time on site, bounce rate, all that stuff. And those are kind of metrics that also Google takes into account a little bit. The best type of ads, obviously, is like look at Google, the way they advertise on their site. It's like everything's kind of blended in nicely, and it's an overall, and it adds to the user experience, etc. So basically, just make sure your ads are not excessive, and pay attention to the way that the ads appear on a mobile device. Make sure to not create content that competes with each other. So this is an issue I see when I review websites where people will create like best headphones for XYZ, best wireless headphones for XYZ, best cheap headphones for XYZ, best expensive headphones for XYZ. And what you end up doing is that you end up creating a bunch of pieces of content on your website that are all competing against the same keyword phrase. You're better off making everything into one blog post, consolidate everything into one guide. Now this is also kind of an art and a skill because you have to take a look at the keywords, okay? And so you have to just notice that like, hey, are these keywords similar? Is the search intent similar? And then if they're similar, then you combine them, okay? If they're not similar, then keep them as separate pieces of content. And so that's what I mean by it's just a skill, because there's no right answer. It's just you got to use your brain and take a look at the keywords and related keywords, because it's never just one keyword that you're ranking for, that you're going after. It's basically a set of keywords, the search intent. So it's like instead of focusing on keywords per se, you want to focus on the broad search intent and think about like what are people all searching for? How can I create one piece of content that incorporates all these different search terms that goes after this one main search intent that people are looking for, and then do that. So don't go ahead and don't create like long tail like everyone talks about long tail keywords and then go after these micro phrases, etc. And then you end up creating a bunch of content that's all kind of competing with each other. Don't do that. Pop-ups. Don't use pop-ups. Okay, so basically Google webmasters, they have a public post saying that they don't like pop-ups, that they intrude on the user experience, and generally they do. So there's tons of ways to incorporate email opt-in forms on your website. You can use lead magnets in various ways. You can put one in your sidebar. You can put one at the footer of each blog post. You can use a banner at the top of your website. You can have in-content call to actions. You can have a dedicated homepage that's just a broad call to action to get people to subscribe, etc. There's no really, and you can also use exit intent pop-ups as well. So like when someone's like mousing over to leave the site, then have something pop up, great. Wonderful. But you don't want to be super aggressive with pop-ups where people just open the site within the first 3 seconds or even like the first minute they get a pop-up. They're like, they don't know who you are. Like it's just annoying. Nobody likes pop-ups. Yeah, they were more popular back in the day, but Google has kind of publicly stated that they don't like them. I don't like them. There's tons of different ways to incorporate incorporate opt-in forms on your site. They're a lot more effective, and then you get a better subscriber base, because that's what you really want to focus on. You don't just want to focus on the numbers. You want to get people who want to be on your list, who want to subscribe, who are interested in what you're doing. Those are the people that you want. You don't want people who are just like, grandma who's on your site and she's like, what is this thing? I can't get, okay, I'll just type in my email and make the pop-up go away. And so that's why you want to be careful with pop-ups. You don't want to use pop-ups. Just incorporate it in different ways on your sites. Specifically, I'm talking about email opt-in forms in order to basically build your email list. Your blog posts have no external links. You should absolutely link out to other resources on the web. It's called the internet for a reason. And so people often buy into these like mysterious guru things of like, no, I want to keep all the SEO juice, whatever SEO juice is, on my website, and I don't want to share it. It's my juice. I'm not giving it to anyone. It's like, it's called the internet, okay? You should link to other resources. Your goal with creating a piece of content is to think about what is the best user experience. You should really, I know it's cliche, and I'm not hired by Google to say this, but it's true. It's like you want to focus on user experience because you want to provide resources that are relevant, that people like, and people would find helpful. So if there's a piece of content that's not on your site, that's related, that's good, then go ahead and link to it. I'm not saying you have to link to a ton of different things, but like you should have a few links in your blog post or linking to like case studies, resources that you're citing, whatever, anything that like builds up support and gives more credibility to your basically blog posts. You don't have to worry about like people are going to leave your site and not come back. It just helps build a good user experience, a nice link profile. You want to have external links. It's just a weird thing if you have a website and you have specific blog posts and they don't link to anything else other than your own website. That's just a little strange in terms of design. So don't shy away from linking to external sources. Irrelevant links. Just like with external links, you just want to pay attention to your internal links. You want internal links. Internal linking is good. It does actually help your SEO because you're in control of your internal links, so you can create nice anchor text rich internal links to your relevant blog posts. But key phrase is relevant. Make sure you just link to relevant stuff related to the blog post. So if you're on a blog post about XYZ topic and this other blog post that you wrote makes sense to link to, then do that. And this is also why you want to like combine everything and not create competing content, as I said. Because then, like, whenever you, for example, if you have like a guide on laptops or cameras or something like that, and then every time you talk about that specific topic, you can link to your main authority guide and build that internal linking all back to this one specific post. And then you end up just creating a nice resource. You create resources that are really helpful for the visitor, and then you have a nice internal link profile. But don't hyperlink random stop words like a and the to your random blog posts. Use rich anchor text links, but don't link to things that are just not relevant to what the piece of content the person currently is now, or content that is not helpful. You're just doing it just to make an internal link because you want to have an internal link with this keyword structure, with this anchor text, and to linking to this, and it doesn't fit in, but you're just forcing it to fit in. Don't do that. Me Too content. Not that Me Too, but Me Too content I just mean is like, look, there's some pieces of content that your website does need in order to make it comprehensive and complete. For example, like on websitecreatepro.com, I have a complete guide on like how to start a blog, how to create a website. And those topics have been beaten to death. Like there's so many blog posts on how to start a blog and how to create a website. And so sometimes like you got to balance this and think about like, well, what does your website need to be complete? Then you should have those guides. But you also don't want to just be creating Me Too content in the sense of like just going after keyword phrases that have already been beaten to death by other people, by other websites. You want to take the time to figure out, searchable terms that other sites are not going after, that are not ranking for, that Google needs, that YouTube needs, and create content on that, because that ends up getting indexed and ranked and getting traffic, etc. And then that's when things get fun and exciting, because like you'll find out that if you create a website on a very competitive topic and you go after strictly phrases that are very competitive, you're not going to get traffic. You're not going to get indexed. You're going to have a tough go at it. And so the way to balance that out is like go after long-term things. That's okay if it makes sense for your website and it makes your website complete. But don't just like waste your time only creating content like that. You want to take the time and understand keyword research and find phrases that people actually want, and that phrases that are being underserved that your website is a great match for. And then just do that. Don't get involved in link building schemes. Now, I think this is kind of common sense to most people who are building websites, and they kind of already know this, and everybody says this, but it's true. And the only reason people say that it's true is because you have people in this industry who start websites and they don't know how to create a good website. They don't know how to create good content. And so they end up getting frustrated, and they, instead of thinking like, no, your website just sucks. Like your content just sucks. They instead of taking that internal reflection upon themselves, they're like, no, you're lying. What's the secret link building technique? There's some big secret that of how to build links that lets you build a website that gets 1,000 visitors a day. Obviously, it's not creating a brand and creating good content and being consistent and having good internal linking and meeting the search intent. No. There's some super secret link building technique. What is it? This PPN service? Should I sign up to forums and leave my link in all the forums? No. It's blog commenting. That's the thing. No. I'm gonna comment on YouTube and link to my website. That's the secret. There's no secret. And so don't get involved in link building schemes. You'll get contacted by website owners being like, hey, if you link to me, I'll link to you. You don't want to do any of this nonsense. You want to link to resources that are relevant to your sites, and that's it. And then you want to focus, and there are many ways to build links. There are many legit ways to build links. I'm not saying link building is not important. Link building is very important. To me personally, link building is kind of like icing on the cake. Like you have to build the foundation of your website. And you want to spend like a year, maybe even 2 years just building the foundation of your website. And just by focusing on your website really dedicated in a dedicated manner, you can definitely grow your website to thousands and thousands of visitors a month. And then once you get to that point, then you can start engaging in link building techniques because you actually have a really good asset. You actually have a really good website that people like, and then that is way easier to build links to than trying to build links to your silly little blog that has like 8 posts and nobody knows who you are and you don't have any social shares, you don't have any like authority. It's like nobody's gonna link to that. Alright, that's it for this video. My name is David, websitecreatorpro.com. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing, hit that like button. I create videos on a weekly basis, so I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.